I'm Michael, aka Oscar Man, and there have been some films and performances whose nominations were considered controversial at the time for reasons that may seem like nothing today. For example, this Best Picture nominee.
And we sat in the Korova milk bar trying to make up our razoo docs what to do with the evening. The Korova milk bar sold Milk Plus.
1971's A Clockwork Orange wasn't the first X-rated film to be nominated for the top prize. As you know, Midnight Cowboy won Best Picture, though its X rating was subsequently downgraded. But was Stanley Kubrick's film about violent youth controversial?
Oh, my brothers, would you believe your faithful friend and long-suffering narrator pushed out his red Yazzik 1.5 miles to lick the Grasny Vonny boots?
A Clockwork Orange drew mixed reviews upon its release and was banned in several countries because its depictions of violence resulted in copycat acts by those who saw it. The film took 8 months to shoot due to the director's perfectionist style of filmmaking. And even with its mixed critical reception, A Clockwork Orange's box office returns far exceeded its budget. The film was nominated for a BAFTA and Golden Globe Award and received 4 Oscar nominations. Stanley Kubrick edited 30 seconds of explicit sexual footage, and the film was re-rated to an R. Today, A Clockwork Orange is considered a cult classic, but back in 1971, its inclusion as a Best Picture nominee raised a few eyebrows.
You and I are going to meet here without knowing anything that goes on outside here. Okay?
But why?
Because we don't need names here.
Last Tango in Paris also received an X rating upon its release. Its star, 2-time Oscar winner Marlon Brando, earned his 7th Best Actor nomination for his performance as Paul.
I remember one time I was all dressed up to go out and take this girl to a basketball game. And I started to go out, and my father said, "You have to milk the cow." And I asked him, I said, "Would you please milk it for me?"
Writer-director Bernardo Bertolucci's fantasy of seeing a beautiful, nameless woman on the street and having sex with her without knowing who she was became the inspiration for this critically acclaimed film.
Well, tell me something sweet. Smile at me and say I just misunderstood. Go on, tell me, you pig fucker. You goddamn fucking pig fucking liar. Rosa.
The controversy surrounding Last Tango in Paris had to do with butter, and whether that particular scene really took place or was performed as an acting exercise. The film was banned in Italy, and Bertolucci faced charges of pornography. Though Last Tango in Paris is primarily about a man dealing with grief and his tumultuous relationship with a young woman, it features what many feel is one of Marlon Brando's finest performances. The explicit scenes of sexual violence are what drew audiences to this now NC-17 rated film.
I don't believe it. It can't be. It is. It is. What? It's a push me, pull you. Look.
Holy O'Reilly, forgive me. I'll never touch another drop.
So, in fact, the other end, they're very timid. This is without doubt the first one's ever been captured.
On the opposite end of the rating system was 1967's Dr. Doolittle, based on the series of novels about a veterinarian who talks to animals. Starring Oscar winner Rex Harrison, Dr. Doolittle went through numerous cast changes, with its leading man the center of many problems during production.
When I look in your eyes, I see the wisdom of the world in your eyes. I see the sadness of 1,000 goodbyes. When I look in your eyes.
Upon its release, Dr. Doolittle was panned by many critics, with one calling it a colossal musical dud that almost ruined 20th Century Fox. The film grossed $9 million against a $17 million budget, and the studio was desperate to recoup its losses. So Fox mounted an aggressive Oscar campaign by booking 16 screenings for Academy members that included dinner and champagne. The result? 9 Oscar nominations, including 1 for Best Picture. Dr. Doolittle won 2 Oscars for Best Song and Visual Effects. But the controversy surrounding its Best Picture nomination made headlines, and once again stirred up conversations about studios buying Oscars. But that kind of influence doesn't happen now, does it?
You haven't forgotten your doctor, have you?
No.
Because that's what I want to see you about.
Why not go to a doctor? Well, there's a free hospital.
Have all them students staring at me.
Bette Davis became an Oscar winner in the 1930s on her first 2 nominations, but her performance in 1934's Of Human Bondage brought controversy to the fledgling Academy.
Well, there's one thing I can say for you. A gentleman in every sense of the word.
Considered by many to be her finest film performance, Of Human Bondage showcased David in the role of Mildred, a self-centered, not exactly likable character.
I never cared for you, not once. I was always making a fool of you. You bored me stiff. I hated you. It made me sick when I had to let you kiss me. I only did it because you begged me. You hounded me. You drove me crazy. And after you kissed me, I always used to wipe my mouth. Wipe my mouth!
Bette Davis fought Jack Warner to permit her to do Of Human Bondage for RKO. The result brought her great reviews, and she was considered a definite contender for a Best Actress Oscar. However, without the support from her studio, Davis was not among the 3 nominees that year, and the controversy surrounding her omission brought about a write-in vote by angry Academy members. The totals, which were released in the early years, showed that Bette Davis came in 3rd. On the official Oscar webpage, Bette Davis's performance in Of Human Bondage is listed as an unofficial nomination.
For 8 minutes, the world would still be bright, and it would still feel warm. It was a year since my dad died, and I could feel my 8 minutes with him were running out.
Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close was a film about a boy's struggle with the loss of his father in the 9/11 attacks.
Was there really a 6th borough?
Well, as with anything, if you want to believe, you can find reasons to.
What reasons?
The clues, of course.
What clues?
What clues? The clues! The peculiar fossil record of Central Park, the incongruous pH balance of that reservoir.
The 2011 film starred Tom Hanks and featured Max von Sydow in his Oscar-nominated performance as a mute in whom the boy confides.
I think the key fits a lock.
Really? I mean, really?
Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close was described by director Stephen Daldry as a film about a special child who was somewhere on the autistic spectrum, trying to make sense of something that literally doesn't make sense to him. A minor success at the box office, the film received mixed reviews and no nominations at the BAFTA, Golden Globes, or SAG Awards. However, in addition to Seidow's nomination, Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close was nominated for Best Picture, which some members of the media called one of the worst nominees in recent memory. Because of a recent change in Academy rules, which opened up the Best Picture category to more than 5 nominees, many felt this allowed less than worthy candidates to end up on the ballot. I don't disagree. Of course, the film didn't win, and while some controversy has softened over the years for some Oscar nominees, Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close's inclusion as Best Picture hasn't.
Sounds reasonable the way you put it, Jim, but Travis, he's got a point too. Takes thinking on.
Hey, Jim!
1960's The Alamo starred John Wayne as the legendary Davy Crockett.
Hand me down that guitar. Now, I want you folks to all clump in here close together. I want you Texicans to open up your ears and listen to a little pure Tennessee.
With Wayne at the helm as star and director, The Alamo received mixed results by critics and audiences. However, it earned 7 nominations, including 1 for Best Picture, and it won for Best Sound. In the lighthearted role of Beekeeper, sidekick to Crockett, Chill Wills was nominated for Best Supporting Actor.
I'm glad I seen that there cannon sitting out there on that prairie. For a minute, I thought they was shooting at us from one of them old countries way over in Europe.
In what was considered one of the most tasteless and offensive Oscar campaigns to date, Chill Wills took out ads in the trade papers which read, "We of the Alamo cast are praying harder than the real Texans prayed for their lives in the Alamo for Chill Wills to win the Oscar. Cousin Chill's acting was great, and it was signed Your Alamo Cousin." This in turn prompted John Wayne to respond with his own ad stating that the comments were untrue and reprehensible. Chill Will's publicity agent took full responsibility for the ad and claimed that his client knew nothing about it. Not only did the actor lose the Oscar, but Groucho Marx took out his own ad which read, "Dear Mr. Wills, I am delighted to be your cousin, but I voted for Sal Mineo," who was a nominee for Exodus. That was not the only time an Oscar campaign generated controversy for an acting nominee.
I want to be a good mama again. Baby, I want to be a good mama. I do. I love you so much, baby. Who are you calling? Are you calling Grandma? You do not call my mother! She is my mother! You do not call my mother!
To Leslie was a 2022 film about a woman who wins the lottery and squanders it on drugs and liquor.
I was happy to have a break. Okay, I partied tonight. I didn't mean to spend it all. I lost everything. I had to file for bankruptcy.
Okay.
Fucking everyone hated me. I lost my place. Okay. And so, yeah, I left them.
Okay.
I left them.
Okay. Let me just say bye, and I'll drive you.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Hey, it's fine.
The title role was essayed by Andrea Riseborough, who received excellent reviews for a film that virtually no one saw due to its limited release in theaters.
I'll give you time, but 3 and 4 need to be turned and the sheets need folding.
Can't you give me a fucking break?
Hey, don't be yelling at me. 3 and 4.
3 and 4.
When Andrea Riseborough's name was announced in the early morning of the Oscar nomination broadcast, audible gasps were followed by applause. This one came out of nowhere. The media was not talking about this performance as a contender for an Oscar, and though Riseborough's work was without criticism, the means to which she received the honor came under intense scrutiny. There was early talk about the Academy rescinding Riseborough's nomination because of a campaign orchestrated by celebrities who were invited to view the film in their homes and then post about the performance on social media. Academy rules forbid individuals from giving their personal signature, personal regards, or pleas to watch a film. The Academy conducted a review and determined that the nomination would stand, but that it needed to address social media campaigns that might unfairly influence the nomination process. Just like any working individual who speaks with a peer at work, actors talk about their profession with other actors, including a performance they saw that was particularly noteworthy. So was this a problem because they posted about Riceboro on Instagram? To Leslie's box office take at the time was $27,000, and almost no one outside of the industry knew about it. I saw the film and thought Riceboro was good, but I wouldn't have voted for her. No doubt the fallout from all of the controversy surrounding her nomination was an embarrassment for the actress, though she still showed up to the Oscar ceremony. My final controversial nomination is one I have tried to avoid, but before I take the plunge, I want to offer my sincere thanks to you for being a part of my channel. I love my fellow Oscar nerds, and I always find your candid observations entertaining and enlightening. If you're not yet a subscriber, please join us for a new video each week, and be sure to vote in the daily polls. Hitting the like button and sharing this video with other fellow Oscar nerds you feel might want to join us would be greatly appreciated.
Rita Mora Castro, soy la abogada, trabajo con su marido.
Sí, me imagino, pero ¿qué hace para él?
Muchas cosas.
¿Es cierto que nos va a sacar del país?
¿Mande?
Are we going back to the United States?
Sabe que yo no sé, no estoy enterada de esas cosas.
Never in Oscar history has there been a film which suffered such a dramatic fall from grace as 2024's Emilia Perez.
¿Qué haces por acá?
Tengo mis negocios en Londres.
No te hagas pendeja. ¿Mandaste a alguien a rastrearme?
A nadie, tranquila.
No reconozco tu voz.
¿Son amigos?
Winner of the Jury Prize and Best Actress for its ensemble at the Cannes Film Festival, Emilia Perez was well received by critics in the US and Europe, but found a much different reception from film audiences.
Doctor, but let me say I disagree.
Please?
Changing the body changes society. Changing society changes the soul. Changing the soul changes society. Changing society changes it all.
Already controversial by Oscar nomination time, the film received a then near record total of 13, including Best Picture. However, the tremendous backlash peaked when voting began, and only the film's song and Zoe Saldana's supporting performance were winners. At its outset, Emilia Perez was poised to become an award-winning sensation. Praise was heaped upon its direction, performances, and musical numbers. 11 BAFTA nominations and 10 at the Golden Globes. The film was at the top of every awards contender list. Then it hit the fan. With a thud. A French filmmaker with no knowledge about Mexican culture, who created a script in English and had it translated into Spanish with no sensitivity to that language's phrasing or the country's culture. Its leading character was a transsexual, played by a transsexual actress. Many were offended by how Emilia Perez was portrayed, as a violent criminal, and the actress herself was discovered to have made offensive political posts on Twitter. The whole endeavor became a mess. I didn't hate the film, but I didn't think it was worthy of the 2 Oscars it received. A long time ago, I was told that bad publicity is still publicity and can be used to one's advantage. Emilia Perez did make Oscar history, but in that case, the less said, the better. Which Oscar-nominated films and performances that were considered controversial come to mind? I had a longer list than what I discussed here, and I'm anxious to see if you fill in those blanks. And until we meet again, here's a clip from one of the most controversial nominated performances that actually went on to win the Oscar, which generated even more controversy.
But we agreed to get married as soon as you won your first case. Meanwhile, 10 years later, my niece, the daughter of my sister, is getting married. My biological clock is ticking like this, and the way this case is going, I ain't never getting married.